Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your assistance. And good morning and welcome to South Cambs District Council Cabinet meeting. And welcome to any members of the public in the public gallery, don't see anybody, or watching the live stream. My name is Councillor Brian Milnes and I'm chairing this meeting as Deputy Leader of the Council. Those in the chamber are reminded that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. By your presence here in the chamber and via video conference, you are deemed to have consented to being filmed and to the use of images and sound recordings for a webcast and archive recording. The normal procedure at Cabinet is to take votes by affirmation. When we move to a vote on any item, I will ask members if they agree with the proposal. Only those members of the Cabinet present in the chamber will be able to move and second the motions and vote. Members present virtually may speak in the debate. Members of the Cabinet will be entitled to speak before non-Cabinet members. Any other members present will then be able to speak. May I ask those who are joining us remotely to ensure that their camera and microphone remain off unless they are addressing the Cabinet. For those of us in the room, please ensure your microphone is close to you, turned on, logged in, and speak clearly when addressing the room. So the first item is to take apologies, and we have apologies. Habs, if you'd like to let us know.
Yep, thank you, Chair. We've got apologies from Councillors Bridget Smith, Dr. Timmy Hawkins, and Natalie Warren-Green.
Thank you very much. And we come on to the minutes of the previous meeting, and I'm looking for any amendments, alterations, or other comments. Thank you. And I'll come back to declarations of interest in a moment, if that's all right. I've skipped an item to the bottom of the page, hiding away. So let's just return to agreement of the minutes. Can I take it that we are all agreed with the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you, that's agreed. And thank you. Let me just reverse a little and take a second. Are you going to second that, Councillor Batchelor?
Yep, happy to second that, Deputy Leader.
And then we'll just confirm again, having properly moved it, so that we agree with the minutes. Thank you. And no declarations of any interest as far as I'm concerned. Is there anybody that wants to declare any interest? Now, if anything arises during the meeting, if you'll raise it at that point. Thank you. There are no announcements and no public questions. So the first substantive item is the Milton Park and Ride, which is the use of public space protection order powers to tackle antisocial and dangerous driving. So this is a persistent problem that we are addressing here, and our Park and Ride sites, and not only Milton but the others, have been experiencing from time to time activities that are putting local residents in some concern. We've got James Ashby here, our Principal Environment Officer, who's going to talk us through the proposal before us today to deal with these issues at Milton Park and Ride. James, would you like to give us an overview of the proposal before us? Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Yeah, I'd be happy to do so. So essentially what we've got antisocial behaviour on the Milton Park and Ride site. So this is primarily related to motor vehicle activities. So this is loud amplified music, racing, revving engines, harassment from drivers, and generally unpleasant behaviour of individuals. Because of the location of Milton Park and Ride, it's quite close to the village, so therefore loud music and those things can be heard by residents. And you know, over the past few months, we've had a degree of reports of this happening and we've had involvement from the police. So just to give a quick brief overview, the Public Space Protection Order is a power granted to us under the Antisocial Behaviour, Crime and Policing Act of 2014. Essentially what it allows us to do is that we can introduce some form of control over certain behaviours in a spatial area. So essentially it's a map with a red line around it, and any of those behaviours within that zone that an individual displays, we have powers to actually tackle that. In order to introduce the PSPO, it has to be reasonable, so there has to be a justifiable reason for it. So we've kind of looked at historical data, reports from the police, reports from residents. So there's a substantial case there for antisocial behaviour on this site. The police have also been involved and kind of helped us in this process, looking at this as an additional power that we can use to try and control those behaviours. These orders are generally in place for 3 years. After 3 years, we have to review it. So we would review the data to see how effective it's been and whether it's a continuing problem. But essentially, the importance of the PSPO is our ability to enforce it. The benefit of the Milton Park and Ride and other park and rides is that we have high quality CCTV in place. Cambridge County Council have fitted Milton Park and Ride with ANPR cameras. What that allows us to do is monitor the situation. So when we get reports, we can capture index numbers of vehicles and view the overall behaviour of those individuals with the wider CCTV network. That allows us to then proceed to enforcement, which we would look at. We can look at prosecution, but in the first instance, it would be a fixed penalty notice of up to £500. The police may be interested if there are wider issues. Police have powers to actually seize vehicles on top of that. So essentially, we're in a position now where we've also been to the public through a public consultation earlier in the year, which is one of the steps that we have to go through. There was overwhelming support of those that responded to the consultation. And now obviously we need cabinet approval to actually bring this into effect. Obviously that's why we're here today, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. So hopefully that's given a general overview of the purpose of it and why we've introduced it.
Yeah, I think you could also comment on the £500 fixed penalty notice, which is a recent significant increase on FBN, I believe. And there's also a possibility of a fine if an incident got to court of up to £1,000. So they're significantly increased penalties, financial penalties, aren't there?
They are, as I say, they're not small penalties. I think to the individuals that are undertaking this behaviour, they're significant enough to make them think twice about what they're doing if they're sensible. And as I said, the police have wider additional powers where they can do, vehicle seizures, but they can also capture data which has implications for driver insurance. So if they're reported doing these activities, that essentially they can report this information through to insurance brokers and insurance companies. And those individuals would have a significantly higher payment to make when they're insured. So there's a range of things that we've got on here. But in the first instance, I think the benefit of having the ANPR is it allows us to facilitate enforcement quite swiftly, because having that information is sufficient for us to undertake the enforcement penalties that we have. Thank you.
And from my own personal experience as a former county councillor, this isn't just a Milton Road Park and Ride issue. We've had similar issues at both Babraham Road and particularly at Trumpington, where those same issues. So presumably this would give us a model to extend either this PSBL or create them for those sites as well.
Yeah, I think because obviously this was our first PSPO in terms of antisocial, so it's kind of been, I wouldn't necessarily say experimental, but we've kind of been feeling our way along with this now. But we've got an established process now to actually put this into practice. So if we wanted to expand this kind of control to the other park and rides, we can do it much more expediently than we have with this one, because obviously we've learned a lot of lessons and we've got a process in place. So yeah, it's perfectly feasible to expand this onto the other park and rides if there is sufficient evidence that there is antisocial activities and being undertaken on those sites.
Great, thank you. I'll take questions from the floor from Cabinet, if anybody's got any. No questions here. Have we got anybody online that wants to ask any? I just see Councillor Lisa Redrup is there. No? Okay, thank you. All right, so... Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Bradnam.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm speaking as local member for Milton and Waterbeach Ward, which includes the villages of Milton and Land Beach, and the park and ride site is between those two. So I wanted to thank the officers in the environmental health team. Thank you, James, for all your work on this, and also for the officers in the Community Safety Partnership who brought this forward and have gently encouraged in the background to get this taken ahead. I know it's been an enormous amount of work and it's taken longer than people expected because of the complexities and the legal requirements, but I'm very glad that we've finally getting there. It's not quite there yet, but I'm very pleased to see this in place. Now, I just wanted to point out the map on page 16 of the agenda papers shows the park and ride, and in that you can see how close it is to some of the residents in Milton. Now, these residents raised concerns with me over 2 years ago about issues with noise from the park and ride, the sound of wheelie, squealing tyres late at night, almost every weekend and particularly in the summer. Incidentally, I live in the middle of the village and I could hear the noises, not from the park and ride site, but I could hear where they were then going out onto the A10, A14 and doing a circuit around and going back to the park and ride. So this whole hub has caused disturbance for a lot of people, not only for ourselves in Milton here, as you can see on the map, but also to the north in Land Beach, but also to people in King's Hedges on the outskirts of Cambridge because of the cars whizzing up and down the A14. I know that's a slightly different issue, but it has come from the park and ride side. So this park and ride site will be Public Spaces Protection Order will be extremely welcome. And the fact that the fixed penalty notice can be issued at the first offence is most helpful. Previously, the police could only go, record the cars that were doing it, and then only take action when they made a further offence on a second occasion. So the fact that they can take action immediately is really helpful. The fact that it's gone up to £500 is a significant increase, and I think that will, as James said, give people pause for thought. So thank you very much indeed for the work that's gone on for a long time to create this. And it will also restore some people's faith in not only the district council, but also the police, because actually people felt the police were not taking action when they reported it. So this will give an opportunity for action to be taken even when they can't attend. So I just have a couple of questions. One is that it says that in your report at paragraph 9 that ANPR will be installed, but can I ask when signage will be installed to inform the public that the culture at the park and ride has changed? Because otherwise, you know, with the best will in the world, people might not realise that they would be incurring this kind of penalty. So that's the first question, so signage. And the second one is, can we please use this to inform park and ride design in future so that we don't make big spaces that people can do this kind of antisocial driving in? So, for example, we're thinking about a new park and ride site beyond Marley, and we're also thinking about a new park and ride site associated with the Waterbeach to Cambridge busway. So can we please use this, the fact that this is the way it has been used, and as you, Chair, have said yourself, it occurs at other sites. Can we use it to inform design? Put strategic trees and planting, beds in might be helpful to break up the blocks of tarmac. But thank you very much indeed for all the work that's gone on to create this.
Thank you, Councillor Brandon. Very useful perspective as the local member. We've got a couple of questions there. James, perhaps you'd like to answer the question, if you can, about signage.
Yep, certainly can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so signage is being prepared at the moment. We've got a draft, which is now going to, essentially, it's just, we've got what the information we want onto it. It's just got to be professionally designed and then printed. Because of the nature of the park and ride, the amount of signage that we need is probably going to be mainly focused on the entrance. So to answer Councillor Bradnam's question, yes, we are now actually doing that to be put on site as soon as possible. So my envisionment, it depends how long we can get it printed, but easily within the next few weeks we should have signage complete, hopefully sooner. I think the interesting aspect about signage, which was, we had this discussion with the community team as well, and Catherine Hawkes, is that because of case law, one of the helpful things about antisocial behaviour and road traffic offences is because we have a lot of those behaviours that we've got specified under the PSPO are also offences under the Road Traffic Acts. There is actually case law to suggest that obviously with lots of other PSPOs, signage is really important, because without signage we can be penalised and prevented from enforcement. But with the Road Traffic Act and the similarities of the offences, there isn't a defence against the ignorance of the specifics of the order, because they mirror those of the Road Traffic Act. So it gives us a kind of extra string to our bow. But obviously we do need signage, because it's an indication of that the order is enforced. Everybody's aware of it, so that's being processed imminently. In terms of the design of the park and ride system, that's not really something that I can. Obviously, I totally agree that there is a lot of merit in looking how these sites are actually designed to prevent some of these behaviours. But obviously, I think the design and construction of a park and ride is primarily sits with Cambridgeshire County Council. But I certainly would agree that there is some scope there for some input around how they're designed. And as I say, at the end of the day, we want to curb some of these behaviours without actually having to undertake all these additional resources. So there is an argument there that the design of a site can be very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll come back to you in a second, Anna, because I think I can give you, as chair of the GCP, some confidence that I'll take this back to the GCP for consideration in the development of the travel hubs and park and rides that you've just mentioned. There's three of them, because there's Hoxton as well, Hoxton Mill. So a very good commendation to us to make sure that we learn the lessons from what hasn't worked very well in the past in the design layouts and so on for the other park and rides. But you wanted to come back.
Thank you. Two things. Thank you very much, Chair. That my request about the design was really to you. So thank you for picking up on that. I think there are some quite simple things that could be done to break up the spaces so that they're not so attractive. I sat there in my car at the far end of the park and ride site back last summer, taking a video of cars doing a wheelie around a street lamp, actually just skidding all the way around it. So just having, not having such big spaces. The other one was back to James and the signage. Just a thought, you said you were going to put it on at the entrance. Well, when people are driving, obviously, yes, people come in through that site, through that one location. But when people are coming in, assuming that they're planning to park, they're not really looking at signage, they're looking at the way in. So it might be wise to do a two-stage, one big one saying there are new restrictions on this park and ride site, sort of something big,
I think that's
and
probably
then detail
a level of
further
detail
back,
that we
just so that people have a chance to read it when they've...
Yeah, and I'm more than happy for you to take those suggestions to James offline, but it's very sensible. Due consideration should be given to that. Thank you. Have we got anybody else? No. So I'd like to thank James, Leslie, and Catherine and other members of the team for developing this proposal. I've got the recommendations, but yeah, I was just going to say that I believe you're going to second the proposal. So recommended to Cabinet so that we approve the implementation of a Public Spaces Protection Order at Milton Park and Ride, delegates authority to officers in consultation with the lead member for environment to make future decisions regarding the scope and status of this PSBO, and delegates authority to officers in conjunction with the lead member for environment to consider and implement PSBO powers in other areas of the district as appropriate. Are we agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. That's so moved. That brings us on to item 7 on the agenda, which is our General Fund medium-term financial strategy. And I'm going to hand over to our Head of Resources, John Williams, to introduce the report and move the recommendations. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I'm not actually Head of Resources. I'm lead cabinet
Maybe
member
lead
for
member
resources.
for resources.
Just to make that clear. You'll find the changes to the strategy in Appendix A in red. And first off, you'll notice that we don't take account of the local government reorganisation, and that's because the Secretary of State obviously hasn't made a decision on that yet. And until he does, we have to assume that this council will continue in its current form, certainly for the next 5 years. Can I draw your attention to Appendix B, because I think Appendix B on page 49 sort of puts everything into context here. It's a very challenging time for us. Actually, it's been something that we've been planning for years. Fair funding review is something that we've prepared ourselves for at least the last 7 years on this council. And as a result of that, actually, we're in a reasonable position to weather that, unlike many other councils. And if you look at the retained business rates, you'll see that we are expecting next year, when the fair funding review happens, to lose 2/3 of our business rate income. That's a sizable amount, because business rates actually account for more than council tax in terms of income for this council. So, although we are expecting the government to lessen the blow with some dampening through the revenue support grant, you'll see that even so, 1/3 of our income will be lost next year because we estimate that retained business rates will go down from near enough 15 million at the moment to about 6 million, to just under 6 million. In 1 year. That's a big drop, even though we are expecting the government to compensate us for about 10 million next year. And that's if they do. I mean, we are making that assumption that the government will be compensating us. And clearly, if the government doesn't compensate us, then we will be in a very serious situation. And also, you'll see that thanks to the senior leadership team, we are looking at being able to reduce our net operating expenditure by around 4 million. So some of that loss will be accommodated by productivity and improvements and processes to reduce that cost. And part of that is our transformation programme, which has been very successful and is delivering the 2 million that we expected of it. So we are in a challenging situation, but nevertheless, because we have been planning for this for so long, our general fund reserves are about 20 million, which is, in comparison to other councils, in comparison to their general fund expenditure, we have managed to build up a nice kitty to enable us to weather this. But as I say, even so, a loss of 2/3 of our business rates in 1 year is a serious issue. And even though the government, we expect, is going to compensate for that, that is not going to be the full amount. And so we will be starting off next year with a much reduced retained business rate level of around, as I say, about a third of what we get at the moment. And then we're expecting the government to give us some support on that other third. But that still leaves us a gap of about 5-6 million a year. And that's therefore reflected in the net position, because obviously if we had that 5-6 million, we wouldn't be in a deficit at the end of the 5-year period. And as I say, we are forecasting a deficit of 3.55 million, principally because of the loss of the retained business rates as a result of the fair funding review. But I am very grateful to the finance officers, obviously putting this together. As I say, it's been a very, a lot of it's been, we try as much as possible to take the worst case scenario whenever we put our budgets together. And I'm very grateful to the work that they've done in delivering this MTFS, which I think is a fair assessment of what is likely to happen over the coming 5 years. So I would recommend that we accept the new strategy, and together with the financial forecasts that are contained in Appendix B.
Thank you, and I'm happy to second that proposal. Have we got any questions from Cabinet? Oh, John Batchelor, thank you.
Yeah, it's not a question, it's more of a statement. It's worth saying that we're in a very strong financial position, which is a happy position, and not many district councils could actually say the same thing. So obviously, firstly, it's down to the brilliant political leadership of the council, but more to the point, it's Fazana and her team's professional management of our finances is clearly a major key to the current success, and of course the brilliant leadership of Councillor Williams in this. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we'll all echo both those sentiments for Councillor Williams and Fazana. Thank you. So, have we got any more questions online? In the chamber? No. So we can go ahead and can I take it that Cabinet agrees with the proposal to accept the MTFS?
Agreed.
Thank you. So noted. And in not necessarily record time, but in reasonable time, we've got through both our 2 substantive motions, and it brings the meeting to an end. Thank you very much.